Hey everyone, that guy Joe here to do a comparison on the Gearwrench and Tekton 3/8 socket sets. They're very similar, with the Gearwrench having a little bit more coverage, but it's going to cost a little bit more as well. If you throw in the 1/4 inch set, which if you add an F to the part number, and I'll put those part numbers in the description, you get that set for free. So if you buy the 3/8 Tekton set and the 1/4 inch Tekton set, the price point's going to be about the same as the Gearwrench. The Gearwrench running a little bit more expensive, but again, it's got a little bit more coverage. The SAE goes down to 1/4 and up to 1 inch, where on the Tekton, it ends at 5/16 and 3/4. Both sets don't skip sizes, which is great. And then on the metric, it starts at 6mm with the Gearwrench, goes up to 19, and starts with 8mm on the Tekton and stops at 19 as well. Other added you get with the Gearwrench is the stubby ratchet. The extensions are pretty similar. The biggest difference for me is in the broaching on the sockets for the deep wells. It's got a shallow broach, which means you go to drop a nut in and it's not going to go very far. So if you've got a stud that you're trying to reach up to, you can't get your hand on there to start the nut, or you've got an extension or something on it and it's just hard to start it by hand, you don't have to worry about that thing falling all the way to the bottom of the socket like you would with the Tekton, or my old Craftsmans were like that. So if you're trying to start a stud with it all the way at the bottom there, it can be a kind of a pain. Where with that shallow broaching on the Gearwrench, and that was what sold these for me, it's a whole lot easier to get it started. And it's got plenty of depth in there, plenty of width there for your studs to drop in, so you don't have to worry about that. I personally like the shallow broach. If you're not a fan of the shallow broaching, by all means, the Tekton set's going to be better for you. The only other real big difference is in the markings. The Tektons look identical from metric to SAE. They've got a double groove on both the deep sockets and a single groove on all the shallows. They're only have indications of the size on, these are stuck in there pretty good, so you don't have to worry about them falling around. They've only got size indicators in one spot, and it's a pretty small stamping. So depending on how you keep your sockets, if you keep them in these trays, they're labeled nicely. You don't have to worry about that. With the Gearwrench, it's a little bit bigger marking, and it's labeled on two sides. And also, the SAE fractionals have a double groove, and the metrics all have the kind of serrated or that textured finish on them. So it's easy to differentiate between your metric and your fractionals with the Gearwrench. Again, depending on how you organize your tools, that may or may not matter. Otherwise, these sets are very, very similar. The only other thing I really noticed, Tekton's chrome looks a lot better. In fact, some of the Gearwrenches that I've got, the chrome looks pretty dirty on. Let's see if I can find one of these to show you in the... I don't know if you can see well on the camera here, but the chrome on these, and I'm sure they'd clean up okay, but Tekton did a lot better job of making sure these came out looking good from the factory. They did a better job cleaning them. I'm sure that's all the Gearwrench needs, is cleaned. A lot of sockets come with, I guess, some chemicals or whatnot on them from the factory. In the Gearwrench, actually, when I opened them up, had a little bit of a smell to them. No big deal. They're not pieces of jewelry. They're going to get used. The Tektons are probably going to end up being my truck tools, and a lot of that comes down to this case. The SAEs are in here really tight. In fact, if you close this up, shake it around, they're all still in place. The other thing, with just the slight differences in what the coverages are, this case is a whole lot smaller. With the lid on of both of these sets, move these out of the way, and I've got this one disconnected, so I'm just gonna have to kind of squeeze it on there. The height on these is near identical. The Tekton set's a little bit taller, but it's a whole lot smaller footprint with just a little bit less coverage. So this is going to make a great set for carrying around. And when I opened this set up, when I got it shipped in, there was just one or two sockets that had moved out of place. And so from all the jostling around during shipping, not many of those came out of place. So I wouldn't be worried about these shifting if they were bouncing around in the truck. But the size of the Tekton set's just going to be a whole lot more convenient. So there you have it. I'll give you the part numbers again in the description of what these sets are. If you buy the 3/8 set and the 1/4 inch set together, it's going to run you a little under $100 for Tekton. And the Gearwrench, if you throw that F on the back of the part number and get the 1/4 inch set with it, it's going to run you a little over $100. Alright everybody, thanks for watching. I hope you look forward to the next video, and we'll see you next time.